The worst, most superficial way to learn chords is to only learn them like this. The problem with only learning a visual shape is that you don't know what notes you're playing. You can't really do anything with that voicing. And in this video, I'm going to take a single chord and then I'm going to show you how you can use that to move across the fretboard, explore that, and in the process, create a lot of beautiful different voicings that you can all add to your vocabulary, just using one single chord. My name is Larsen, learn jazz, make music. Often we spend time learning and practicing chords and inversions as systems and formulas, and not really as something where we know the notes, where we're making our own inversions and becoming flexible with what we're practicing. You're just learning the grips, and that's not enough if you want to really sound musical and create something when you're comping. Let's start with a really basic chord, so this C major 7 with an added 9. The first thing to check out is what notes do we actually have in there. So of course we have the root C, then we have the 3rd E, the 7th B, and the 9th D. So we don't have a 5th in there, so it's a C major 7 with an added 9th. It's very useful also, as you will see in a minute, to order these notes within an octave. And that's simply because that's going to help you do a lot more things with the chord voicing. We do that, then we have the C, the D, the E, and the B. Just a short sidestep here. Do you have a name for this type of voicing? Because this is clearly not a drop voicing. And actually, I don't think I actually know a name for it. So if you know sort of an official name for this voicing, let me know in the comments. Of course, I'm aware that there are separate exercises that you can use if you want to learn the notes of the fretboard. Of course, there is something to be said for that. At the same time, I do think that it's usually much more efficient to try to connect the different things you want to learn to the music that you actually want to play, so that when you're learning the notes of the fretboard, you're also learning stuff that you actually need when you're playing. Another thing that's also a problem with this is that if you have all these different separate exercises to develop different skills, then you end up with having practice routines that are 17 hours long, and nobody has time for that. One exercise that's really great if you want to explore the fretboard and also learn some new voicings is of course to just take any chord that you know and then figure out the inversions of it. This is where it becomes really useful to know what notes are in there and also to be able to order them in pitch, because you're going to use that when you make the inversions. The original chord, I move C up to D, then I have the E moves all the way up to B. So now we have this and this, the B to C and the D to E. So now I have this voicing. Then I can do that one more time, so D moves up to E, B up to C, C to D, and E up to B. And then the final time, E up to B, C to D, D to E, and then the B up to C. Then I have this almost unplayable voicing. And I'm sure you can see how working with this exercise is really helping you dig into what notes are in the chord, but certainly also helping you get a better fretboard overview and really using that to find some voicings that you can play. When you're working with the new inversions, then make sure to also check out how you can use them together with the chords that you already know. Maybe you can find completely new melodies or different sounds that you can use in songs that you already know and with material that you also already have in your playing. Here I'm starting with this inversion, and then of course because I have the B here on top, I can easily change that into a B flat to create a C7, so I'm going from a C major 7 to a C7 with a 9. And of course this resolves really neatly to F major 7. It just kind of closes around this voicing. So F major 7, and then if we're in C major, then that would be 4, then we can go to 4 minor, F minor 6, resolving to this C major 7, and then creating that C major 7 with a 9 here. The two other inversions are a little bit difficult to get to use when you want to use this chord as a C major 7, but you are still just exploring the fretboard when you're working with this, and sometimes you're going to do inversions and then you're going to come across a voicing that might not work for the original chord you started with, but it's going to be really useful for another chord type. Another thing you want to keep in mind is also that sometimes it's going to get a lot easier to play these voicings if you use other string sets. For instance, the last inversion on the top string set is actually quite playable. Another exercise that's extremely useful if you want to get more out of a chord voicing that you're playing is to take it through a scale, because if you do that, then you're checking out if the same type of voicing, the same construction, will actually work for other chord types. A basic version of that could sound something like this. Moving this voicing through the scale, then in this case you're probably seeing how this is actually the same construction as some other voicings that you're using all the time. And you're probably also going to find a few voicings here and there that are not that useful, that don't sound great or are almost unplayable. And that's okay. It's just doing the exercise and exploring what is there. You can always decide what to use and what not to use. And if you should be in a situation where you suddenly find that actually this voicing really works, then you've played it once before and it's going to be easier to find it again. Another thing that you can explore if you want to become more flexible with the voicings that you're playing is to start moving voices within each chord voicing. And you can take that through the diatonic chords as well. If you do that with a single voice, then that could be something like this. And it can also sound really great if you're moving several voices within the chord. And here's an example where I'm moving the middle voices, but then in opposite direction. When you're working on exercises like this, then you're of course working on knowing the scale better and having a better fretboard overview, but you're actually also doing some really serious problem solving in terms of figuring out how to play these chords. And that is extremely useful to keep working on, so that you don't have a set solution for anything. You are working on becoming able to just automatically find a way to play the notes that you want to play. And that's something that's going to open up your comping and your chord melody and your improvisations massively. If you want to check out some more exercises on how you can become more free on the fretboard, then check out this video where I'm going over some exercises that are using things that you of course need for solos, but also just directly vocabulary and jazz lines to help you get a better overview of the notes on the neck of the guitar.